back, listeners, to the third annual Race Through the Pelagosphere, brought to you by Half-Hill brand sardine tins. When you are hungry from a long day at the fish tracks, you can trust Half-Hill brand sardines to bring the stupendous flavor taste of the sea straight to your hungry mouth. Have them on your Italian-style pizzas for a taste style that will bring you to the moon. Half-Hill Sardine Packing Company. These fish pack a punch. We join today's contestants as they're lining up at the start line, hoping to win glory in the championship title of Fleetest Fish. Revved and ready to go is the reigning champion from the last 2 years' races, Santiago, a black marlin whose tenacity and speed has brought him great recognition among his athletic peers. It was a close race last year between him and Sully the sailfish, but Santiago sliced through the sea salt to a stunning success. Sully returns this year for another shot at the title. Among today's other hopefuls are Tsunami, a mako shark with nothing to lose, Bertha, the bodacious bonito, Francesca, the fabulous flying fish, and fan-favorite underdog, Tinny the Tuna. Tinny's career in sport racing has just begun, but fans and coaches alike have been keeping an eye on his metallic blue scales. Though he has been criticized for lack of speed, he's boasting a clever new set of hydraulics today that just might give him an edge. I can't wait to see how he performs in today's competition. Truly a fantastic race in both the literal and evolutionary sense of the word. And they're off. Bursting from the start line, Francesca takes an early lead, Tsunami trailing just behind, gill to gill with Tinny. Bertha trails behind, followed by Sally, followed by Santiago. It seems like it's taking some time for Santiago to get moving today, but his past races have proven once he hits that cruising speed, there will be no stopping him. Sally overtakes Bertha, Tinny overtakes Tsunami. Tsunami tries to scare Tinny with a burst of speed and teeth barred, no doubt an intimidation tactic to remind Tinny who the apex predator is. But if anything, it furthers Tinny's lead. An impressive burst of speed from our tuna friend leaves Tsunami eating bubbles. At the back of the pack, Bertha bursts in front of Sally, but Santiago has finally found his stride, passing Sally, then Bertha, then Tsunami, racing neck and neck with Tinny as we round the whale shark checkpoint and into the second leg of the race. Tinny's maneuverability around the large body of our volunteer whale shark has given him a slight edge over Santiago as they round the bend. But in a show of effort, Santiago hits the straightaway, passing Tinny and Francesca, forcing Francesca up and out of the water. I can't believe what I'm seeing, folks. Francesca has spread her wings, literally. Gliding through the air she goes, actually keeping up with Tinny, just trailing slightly behind. Meanwhile, Sally refuses to go down. An impressive burst of straightaway speed from before the bait ball obstacle has her passing several of her competitors and now ranking second place. Passing Francesca as she hits the water into an unfortunate crashing tailspin. A rough landing for our smallest competitor allows Tinny to pass her as well. It's Santiago, then Sally, then Tinny, then Francesca and Tsunami and Bertha as we approach the schooling bait ball in the final phase of the race. No doubt Tinny is hoping to use his quick turn tactics to maneuver around the bait ball to overtake his opponents. Tsunami overtakes Francesca and, holy mackerel, folks, I cannot believe what I'm seeing! Santiago and Sally have chosen to pass directly through the bait ball, scattering silver-scaled fish everywhere. In response, Tinny no longer has a clear path, and he swims upward? Wow, this is incredible! Tinny has taken a lesson from Francesca and leapt out of the water, his scythe-like fins cutting the air like the wings of an aeroplane. He's completely avoiding the confusion of the scattered fish that is taking his other competitors off guard. It's pure chaos in the pelagic raceway as the competitors speed towards the finish line. Tinny splashes in the water, bursting forward in an attempt to win. At the finish line, it's Santiago, then Sally. Tinny crosses, followed by Tsunami. Francesca has managed to recover, swimming her hardest against Bertha. It could be anyone's to take. And there it is! Francesca manages to edge out Bertha by just a few scant seconds. Better luck next time, Bertha. Truly a fantastic display of speed and racing prowess. Though Santiago takes the crown once more, this impressive display of maneuvering and racing tactics was truly a sight to behold. I feel sorry for anyone not tuned in. Be sure to keep your dials right here, folks, as we join the otter diving competition already underway.
Oh hey, I didn't see you there. You're listening to Bio-Diversity, the podcast about pelagic paradigms and coral curiosities, where we bring the best in flippin' fun fish facts straight to your ear holes. It's like we're the delivery drivers of peer-reviewed aquatic science, the Grubhub of fish food for your mind, the DoorDash of dope decapods. Here on the show, we examine the weird, the wacky, and the wonderful diversity of life that lives under the crashing waves of our blue home. Using cutting-edge science as our guide, we dive deep into both the common and the rare, the exotic and the ugly. So tune in for the tuna, stick around for the scorpionfish. Let's descend. Today on the show, we're talking tuna. What's your favorite tuna? Mine's the yellowfin. I even say in the intro to this podcast that you need to tune in for the tuna, and this is that episode. To me, tuna is the poster child of finding wonder and awe in the everyday. Or maybe that should be poster fish? I don't know. Either way, the word tuna is ubiquitous. You know, it's everywhere. It's in the sushi rolls or seared steaks that you order at restaurants, it's in the cans that you buy at the grocery, and it's a popular sport fish. It's easy to hear the word tuna and just go, yeah, okay, tuna, sure, and have that be about the extent of your thought on the subject. And I'm willing to bet that most people just think about tuna as another food source, this perception that it's just a stock standard fish that provides some nice high-quality meat for us to consume. Heck, honestly, even I used to, up until I actually learned a thing or two about the fish. And let me tell you, like a line of toy robots, tuna practically live the phrase, more than meets the eye. When I say the word tuna, I'm referring to a collection of species, not just one. There are 15 different species of fish that we would call tuna out there populating the open blue. Taxonomically, tuna are a collection of 5 genera grouped under the Thunini tribe. And if you haven't the faintest clue of what I'm talking about when I say tribe, you aren't alone. Tribe is one of the less talked about minor classifications of taxonomy, but honestly, it's kinda cool sounding. I mean, come on, these other ones, subgenus, subfamily, how uncreative can you get? Now, tribe, that's where it's at. I mean, I'm already writing a tribe of tuna folk barbarians for my next Dungeons & Dragons game. Of the 5 genera that make up the tribe, only one genus, Thunus, is referred to as the true tunas, or sometimes the real tunas. This seems arbitrary and kind of cruel to the rest of the tuna species. Like, what does that even mean? If Thunus are the only real tuna species, does that mean that the others are just figments of humanity's collective imaginations? Because I'm a fish nerd who values answers over sleep, I've tried several times to research why on earth this genus is so special to be called the true tunas, but have, to be honest with you, come up short. My best guess is that the non-Thunus fish are usually physically much smaller, making them a little bit more mackerel-y looking. But here at Bio-DIVE-rsity, we do not discriminate against those lacking in size or commercial value. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. All tunas are real tunas. It's the truth. Hashtag love all tunas. 15 species is a lot of species, and I'm honestly tempted to list each and every single one of them out, but for the sake of brevity and for both yours and my sanity, actually, you know what? Nah, screw it, I'm 100% gonna do it. All 15 tuna species, in reverse alphabetical order. Hashtag love all tunas. The Bio-DIVE-rsity podcast presents a dramatic reading of all 15 tuna species. Yellowfin, tuna. Southern bluefin, tuna. Slender, tuna. Skipjack, tuna. Pacific bluefin, tuna. Longtail, tuna. Little tunny. Kawa, the mackerel tuna. Frigate, tuna. Bullet, tuna. Blackfin, tuna. Black skipjack, tuna. Big eye, tuna. Atlantic bluefin tuna. Albacore, tuna. Thank you. Okay, but for real, since there is only so much information that can be covered in a single episode, today we're going to focus on the overall biology, form, and function of tuna fish as a collective. These fish are so important to the fisheries industry and us humans who consume them, it's only fair that we take the time to learn a little bit about them. A little respect and some knowledge of their lifestyle in exchange for literally consuming their flesh. A fair trade, don't you know? The World Wildlife Foundation's page on tuna has one of my favorite sentences in the entire world. Quote, "If fish were like cars, tuna would be the Ferraris, sleek, powerful, and made for speed." Unquote. In a lot of respects, this is 100% true. The yellowfin tuna, which just so happens to be my favorite tuna, has been clocked at going 47 miles per hour, or 74 kilometers per hour. That's super fast! Tuna are incredible speed machines that have evolved every inch of their sleek and streamlined body for better hydrodynamics. Granted, you could look at just about any fish and say that it's pretty sleek and well adapted to swimming, but tuna have some extraordinary fine-tuned adaptations that make them stand out above the shoal. Stay with me here, because we're going to take a recreational open water dive into the world of fish physics, which, just so you know, is 153% cooler than regular physics because fish are involved. Any fish that wishes to, move, must contend with these forces of physics in order to get where it wants to go. Namely, the fish itself has to generate a force called thrust. For simplified purposes here, it's basically the forward forces that the fish generates, usually by moving its tail, also known as its caudal fin. This forward force is opposed by a backward force called drag. This is the force that the water exerts, pushing backwards on the fish as it moves forward. It could be useful to think of drag as water resistance. Water is, after all, a physical liquid that you have to push through in order to move anywhere. The bigger you are, and the more water you have to push out of your way, the more drag will act on you as you swim. The physics are way simplified here, but it is useful to think about these two major forces acting in these opposite directions. Again, the thrust generated by the fish moving forward measured against the drag of the water pulling it back. When we are thinking about how fish are shaped, you realize that they have to contend with striking a balance between these two forces. A fish that wants to go fast needs to be able to generate a lot of thrust while reducing the amount of drag acting on its body. And I say strike a balance for a reason. One might think the best way to speed is by brute forcing more thrust with a large, powerful fan-like fin, like a mermaid tail. But that same large fin creates a lot of drag when it's angled to the side, so due to its sheer size and shape, this isn't necessarily the best option. A fish with that kind of design might just end up doing a lot of work and expending a lot of energy without getting satisfactory results. One way that tuna rise to meet this balancing challenge is with their uniquely shaped tail. If you've ever seen a tuna, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Whereas other fish might have oar-shaped or V-shaped tails, the majestic tuna decided on a sleek crescent moon shape. Scientists call this design a lunate tail. Again, with the cool-sounding names, lunate practically poetically floats off the tongue. Lunate. And much like that beautiful word, the actual movements of the tuna's tail are pure poetry itself. One study in 2013 looked at this beautiful movement, as well as different types of fish tails, and concluded that while differing caudal fin shapes may be optimal for different speeds and different circumstances, this lunate design is the most optimal for high-speed fish. The long lobes on the crescent shape give it more area for more power, but the design also happens to not be a total drag. The tail fin isn't the only fin that's unique and specialized either. The dorsal fins, or the fins on their back, are also a big contributing factor to how the tuna slays the hydrodynamics game. They usually have two, but depending on the species, the first of these fins can actually retract into grooves along the body when it's not in use. The fin serves no purpose in propulsion, only in maneuvering, so if you can put it away, that's even less drag that you have to deal with when you want to go fast. Similarly, the pectoral fins can depress against the side of the fish as well, reducing drag further. And it doesn't stop there either. If we move further down the body towards the tail, and look at both the second dorsal fin and the anal fin on the other side, we see something startling. These two fins, the characteristic half-crescent-looking things about 3/4 of the way down the fish, have recently been observed making minor, incredibly subtle movements, nearly invisible to the naked eye. These movements were only seen by dedicated tuna nerds spending hours watching the fish at the Monterey Bay Aquarium in California. As it does, curiosity got the best of scientists after making this observation, and it led to one of the coolest discoveries in tuna science. The adaptation that was eventually discovered is something that's never before been seen in anything with a backbone, and is an incredibly bizarre adaptation too. The story of how we got there goes like this. Scientists began by looking into more detail at the anatomy of these two fins. So over the course of several studies, they found a strange chamber that was right beneath both of them, though they were baffled as to what it could be for. The chamber was filled with some kind of fluid, too, further adding to the mystery. So without a lead as to what the chamber did or what the fluid even was, the researchers called in an expert. Enter Benjamin Rosenthal, stage left, a researcher in regenerative medicine. He helped to analyze the cells that were carried within the strange fluid, and he found that... Oh boy, this is so exciting. It was lymphatic fluid. Lymphatic fluid. Okay, alright, I guess that bears some explanation. Lymphatic fluid is a hyper-important fluid that most organisms have, including us. It's both multifaceted and complex, and it serves many important purposes. The whole lymph system is a network of tissues, vessels, and organs that's part of a greater circulatory and immune system, and it acts in a lot of different ways. Two of the big ones are in circulation and immune response. As part of the circulatory system, it acts as sort of a net that collects excess fluid from cells and other tissues in the body. Most fluids can get reabsorbed by veins, but when that happens, some of it gets left behind. That extra is caught by the lymphatic system and can now be called lymphatic fluid. Eventually, this system provides a way for the important parts of the fluid, like the left-behind proteins, to be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. Waste not, want not, the lymphatic system says. The second major feature of the lymph is in immune response. The lymphatic system produces one of the main types of white blood cells, alongside other immune cells, and provides nodes and stations to monitor and filter the blood in the lymph fluid. The body can detect pathogens or even cancer cells in this way, cleansing them and helping the immune response along to destroy the offending pathogen. There's a lot more that the lymph does, but the point here is that the lymphatic system and the lymph fluid do a lot of heavy lifting to make sure that our bodies run well. But what on this blue planet was it doing in these chambers beneath the fins? The studies into the fins in this strange fluid-filled chamber continued, and what was eventually discovered was that the lymph fluid was being used as a literal, actual biological hydraulic system. You know, like those hydraulic pressure systems that we design and use in our machines and robots? Yeah, like that. The researchers found several small muscles that contract and force the fluid up into channels within the fins themselves, forcing them into a more erect position. This forms a pivot point of sorts, and enables these amazing precise micro-adjustments that the tuna can make, thereby enabling sharper, quicker turns. The tuna literally wasn't content with having its lymph be just a heavy lifter. It wanted to ensure that its lymph system was the world powerlifting champion. It's incredible to me that these fish evolved such a complex and innovative system. Being able to use a fluid that's already part of your body in such a novel way while still maintaining its other functions is, in a phrase, evolutionary genius. It blows my mind. And it's not just something to sit and marvel at either. The knowledge is practical to us humans as well. There's now ongoing studies that are looking into using this type of control as inspiration for our future robotics, up to and including autonomous vehicles. So if one day in the future you find yourself being taken home by a self-driving Uber, you might just have the mighty tuna to thank. We are far from done talking about what makes tuna physiology cool. The tuna packs, on average, a whopping 4 cool facts per square foot of fish. That's a verified science fact. Here's the next one. Were you taught in school that all fish are ectothermic or cold-blooded? Well, the tuna proves that sweeping generalization wrong. Take that, Mrs. Jenkins. You don't know as much as you thought you did, huh? Tuna are actually classified as partially endothermic or warm-blooded fish. Calling endothermy and warm-blooded equivalent is a little misleading, but what it means here is that the tuna is able to actually keep its core body temperature higher than that of its surroundings. Unlike humans and other endotherms, though, the tuna don't necessarily keep their temperature regulated to a narrow range. Tuna core temperature can be across a pretty wide band. There's another physiological adaptation that allows them to do this, and it is wonderful. Literally. The Rete mirabile translates from Latin to English as wonderful net, and take it from this fish nerd, it is quite full of wonder. It's yet another example of the tuna using something it already has to achieve a grander purpose. The Rete mirabile is this huge mesh of veins and arteries on the periphery of the fish that helps capture and conserve body heat generated from the metabolic process. In more understandable terms, normal already occurring metabolic processes, such as digesting food to obtain energy or synthesizing new cells, generate energy or heat as a byproduct. Humans are terribly inefficient at utilizing this energy. It's estimated that 70 to 95% of this metabolic heat is wasted in humans and just released as heat from the body. But tuna, the sly, slippery fish, chose a different path. The Rete mirabile is able to capture this escaping heat and, through countercurrent exchange, transfers that heat back into the arterial blood. This reduces the severity of the heat loss at the surface of the fish and helps keep the core temperature warm. In bluefin tuna, this net is so effective that the heat exchange reaches about 99% efficiency. In effect, the Rete mirabile really lives up to its name. It is a wonderful net that catches heat trying to escape and puts it back into the body. This heat being kept in the body offers several advantages to the tuna. First, and maybe more obviously, it lets the tuna adapt and survive in cooler water environments. This greatly expands the tuna's range, a huge advantage when you're looking for resources like food. It also supports their active lifestyle. By elevating the temperatures of muscles, eyes, and the brain, they're able to swim faster and longer and for less energy, which is good when you need to do a lot of swimming like the tuna do. A fun side fact, when wild or farmed tuna are caught to be harvested for their meat, it's actually pretty critical that the fish be put on ice almost immediately to cool the fish's internal temperature down. It's actually possible that the internal temperature from the fish itself can negatively affect the quality of the meat if it's just left alone. Speaking of muscles/meat, have you ever wondered why tuna meat is most oftentimes pink or red when most other fish meat is white? This is due to another unique physiological adaptation of the tuna to support its high energy needs. Compared to most other fish, tuna have much higher counts of a molecule called myoglobin in their bloodstream. Myoglobin is a fun little molecule that not only gives the color to the delicious red meats, but it also serves a very important purpose in oxygen transport within the body. You might have already heard of myoglobin's distant cousin, hemoglobin, being the main oxygen binding and transport molecule in us humans and most other mammals. I say the word oxygen binding molecule with a fair deal of reverence and respect, for without these magic molecules, the oxygen we breathe from the atmosphere wouldn't get anywhere in our bodies. In tuna, think of myoglobin like a little postal worker, and the oxygen the tuna gets from its gills are the packages. The myoglobin then transports that oxygen to the cells that need it, which is most all of them. When it arrives, it is used for a ginormous host of different processes, but one that seems particularly relevant is the breakdown of food into energy. So, to put it all together, since tuna have particularly high counts of myoglobin, that means their blood is highly oxygenated, meaning that the cells have more oxygen available to produce energy, thus supporting a high energy and fast swimming lifestyle. The fast-swimming lifestyle actually comes back full circle, too, because tuna cannot actually pass water over their gills by themselves. In order to extract the oxygen from the water, they must rely on the movement of their whole body to have a constant flow of water over the gills. Meaning, in effect, tuna can never stop swimming. They really took Dory's advice to heart. A quick, fun myoglobin side fact before we move on. In air-breathing animals, particularly high myoglobin counts is linked to the ability to hold your breath for an extended period of time. We see this in animals such as seals and in whales. I mean, lucky for the tuna, it can breathe water, but if it had to hold its breath, I wonder just how long it could go. Tuna as a whole have a lot of really cool adaptations physiologically, and these are just a few of them. But what caused these cool adaptations to evolve? What is the tuna's lifestyle that warrants such peak physical performance? Most tuna species are actually highly migratory, and the qualifier highly doesn't really cover the subject. What I mean when I say highly becomes evident when you look at a species like the Pacific bluefin. I'm literally talking entire oceans of distance. They'll travel from their spawning grounds off the coast of Japan all the way over to the coast of California at the age of 1 year old. That's around a 5,000-mile trek, or an 8,000-kilometer journey. It'll stay around that coastline for several years, bopping back and forth as down far south as Mexico and as far north as Washington state. After years of eating and growing, it will make that same trek in reverse back to the spawning grounds to carry on to the next generation. And that's just one migration for one species. It's not counting any of the fish that travel from Japan to Australia or any of the fish traveling to or from the Mediterranean. From there, it's pretty logical that in order to make such massive treks, the fish has to be a very strong swimmer. So that's why, over the years of evolution honing the tuna's ability, they're such powerful swimmers. That lunate tail, the ability to reduce drag by folding your fins in, the ability to keep your temperature warm in cold water, it all gives the tuna the ability to make these perilous treks. Obviously, undertaking such a migration requires a lot of energy. I mean, most people get exhausted when they have to fly transatlantic, and all they really have to do is sit on the freaking plane. Imagine making that swim yourself. The seemingly endless energy of the tuna comes from its diet, and to that end, tuna are incredible hunters. One particularly apt comparison I heard is that tuna are the wolves of the sea, and I love that comparison. Give me a 3 tuna moon shirt and I would buy it in a heartbeat. Tuna, living most of their lives out there, are particularly adept at finding prey out in the seemingly empty expanse that is the open blue of the ocean, being able to generate bursts of speed, have quick maneuverability, and deliver killing blows necessary to gobble the prey down. It's here that we see those adaptations like the powerful, highly oxygenated muscles and the hydraulic pivot systems of the fish come into play. If you get the chance to watch tuna feed, perhaps at an aquarium, I highly recommend it. The tuna diet usually consists of whatever they can reasonably hunt, but they usually prey on small fish like sardines or mackerel, or cephalopods like squid. Sometimes they'll even eat other smaller tuna species. All of this puts together for an extremely interesting fish. From the time that they spawn as small, free-floating larvae that eat plankton, to the years and miles later when they are one of the fiercest, most streamlined hunters of the sea, it's easy to look upon all of these species in total awe. Look at their anatomy and the specializations they use. You can clearly see the importance of this animal, even if you aren't a fish nerd. And even if you don't eat tuna, even if you aren't an earth-loving hippie like me, the tuna is so important. The sheer amount of knowledge in the realms of physics, robotics, ecology, and beyond that humanity has gained from studying the tuna is beyond incredible. And I'm going to leave you with one more tuna story, one more study that just shows how useful this fish can be to humanity. We've covered extremities like tails and fins and musculature and fluid systems, but what if I told you that even the bones of the tuna are super special? How much awesomeness can we fit into one fish? As recently as 2018, researchers have been looking into a material called hydroxyapatite, or HA for short. This mineral is found in a lot of different bones and a lot of different animals. In fact, up to 50% by volume or 70% by weight of human bone, our stuff, is this modified version of hydroxyapatite that we call bone mineral. It makes up a fair amount of the structure of our bones and lends to their incredible strength. Increasingly, in the medical field as of late, studies have shown that using synthetic hydroxyapatite in bone repair procedures, such as bone grafting or some dental work, has been incredibly effective. Synthetic hydroxyapatite from animal sources shows incredibly high compatibility with human bone, adequate strength, and low to no toxicity when used to replace portions of bone in incredibly bad fractures. HA is not only used in bone grafts, but in implants as well. I'm talking hip replacements, dental implants, or even hearing aids that can be coated in this stuff. The aforementioned affinity with human bone is huge. The reduction for risk in inflammation, overactive immune response, or straight rejection of the implant turns out is kind of important for the quality of life of any patient receiving this product. Here's the problem, though. Even though hydroxyapatite can be extracted from animal sources like bovine bone, the cost to do so is incredibly high. Since our medical systems in America tend to be unfortunately cost-driven, the use of synthetic hydroxyapatite in the medical field can be limited. But, as if hearing the universe's call to once again help humanity out, the tuna has risen to the challenge. One study in 2018 looked at the compatibility of hydroxyapatite derived from fish bone with that of human bone and demonstrated good biocompatibility between the two materials. Another study just last year in 2020 looked at the process of actually synthesizing the material from skipjack tuna and demonstrated that it has a high potential as a source of viable fish-derived HA. It could actually happen. And here's the bonus. We're already fishing skipjacks and other tunas out of the ocean. The meat is harvested and used either for sushi or putting it in cans, but the rest of the carcass, including the bones, right now is treated as waste. But if we can demonstrably show that this bone is useful and maybe even inexpensive to derive a medically important bone material from, those fish bones could actually go to great use. This would not only reduce waste from the tuna fishery, but it would also provide a supply for medical professionals that have heretofore been lacking, and potentially make these therapies cheaper and more widely available. It's better for the environment, it's better for doctors, and it's better for most people. And no, I'm not just excited about this idea because one day I might literally be part tuna. Whatever gave you that idea? That's going to wrap up today's episode of Bio-Diversity. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to this amazing fish, so thanks for listening. I know, you all are so sad that Tuna Talk time has been tragically truncated. I can hear the lamentations across the net. Well, does Biodiversity have a surprise for you? We're not done with this fabulous fish yet. Today, we only talked about the biology of the fish themselves, and only at an overview scale, but there's another puzzle piece to this story. The science and stories of man's relationship to this fabulous fish. Which species are the most important to humans? Why are they so freaking tasty? And why do they call it chicken of the sea when it is so obviously a fish? So be sure to come back for next episode, where we will tell these jaunty sea tales of man and fish. We'll answer these questions, talk tuna nutrition, and tell a few stories too. The tale of tuna's meteoric rise from trash to treasure, the tale of Yakuza mobsters trying to keep a poisoning conspiracy secret, and the tale of hope for a species on the edge. All of this, next time on Biodiversity. It's gonna be so much fun. Be sure to listen in. Until then, remember to hashtag love all tunas, and don't forget to love yourself too. The tuna do. I'll see you all next time.